white silk blouse, Parisian lights. Bettina Graziani walks like silence, learning to breathe. The year is 1952, Givenchy's first collection. She steps onto the runway in white. No jewels, no noise, only purity distilled into flesh. Her walk is not performance, but prayer. The front row holds its breath. Dior, Balenciaga, Cocteau, frozen like witnesses to something sacred. The applause never comes, just silence. Sacred, suffocating silence. 30 seconds pass. Then the eruption. Standing ovation, cameras flashing like lightning trying to capture thunder. Paris has just witnessed the birth of elegance and the death of a woman inside it. They will name the blouse after her, the Bettina Blouse. And Bettina Graziani will spend the rest of her life trapped inside that white silk, unable to escape the perfection she embodied for 7 minutes on a Parisian runway. They dressed me in white so the world could project its purity onto me, she will write years later. I was not a woman. I was the idea of one. But to understand how a poor girl from Normandy became the embodiment of an idea, we must go back. Back to before the silk and lights. Back to when she was still Simone, still real, still learning that beauty could save you and destroy you in the same breath. Normandy, France, August 8, 1925, salt and wet stone. Simone Bodin is born into poverty that offers no romance. Her father works the docks with bleeding hands. Her mother takes in laundry, bent permanently from scrubbing other people's stains. They are invisible people, the kind the world looks through rather than at. But Simone possesses something they don't. A face that makes strangers stop mid-conversation. A quality that seems imported from another century, another class, another destiny entirely. Her mother notices first. The way shopkeepers treat her daughter differently. The way women pause to stare. "You were born in the wrong family," she tells Simone once. It sounds like an accusation. At 7, Simone doesn't understand. But she files it away as evidence that she doesn't fit in her own life. That the face in the mirror belongs to someone else. Someone elegant, someone who shouldn't be living in a 2-room apartment that smells like mildew. She starts watching. The wealthy women who collect laundry from her mother. How they carry handbags. How they thank without seeing. How they inhabit space as if they own it. Simone practices these gestures in secret. Walks with books on her head, modulates her accent, softens the hard edges of working-class French into something that could pass for education. At school, she exists in a category of her own, the poor girl who doesn't look poor. Teachers find her unsettling. "She's strange," one says, "too self-possessed for a child. Like she's acting. She is acting. Has been since she understood that beauty without performance is just genetics. But beauty with calculation, with the patient accumulation of knowledge about how to move through space. That's survival." The other girls whisper about her during lunch. Not with cruelty, but with confusion. How does she make a worn dress look intentional? How does she turn poverty into aesthetic choice? They don't understand that Simone studies them as carefully as they study her. She notes which girls the teachers favor, which gestures earn approval, which silences communicate more than words. She learns that power isn't in speaking. It's in making others want to hear you speak. That mystery is more valuable than accessibility. That withholding creates desire in a way generosity never can. By 12, she has perfected what she will later recognize as her greatest skill, the ability to be present while remaining completely unreachable. To stand in a room full of people and exist as pure image, pure projection, a screen onto which others can cast whatever they need to see. By 14, Simone has a reputation, untouchable. She walks alone, eats alone, sits by windows watching streets with the intensity of someone studying a foreign language. Boys try to talk to her. She deflects with practiced politeness. Girls invite her places. She declines with grace. Distance creates mystique. Mystique creates value. She doesn't have friends. She has observers. People watching her the way she watches them, trying to decode what makes her different. The answer is simple. She's already performing being Bettina Graziani. She just doesn't know her name yet. At 16, Simone leaves for Paris with 300 francs, one good dress mended invisibly, and a forged letter of reference. Paris in 1941 is occupied, wounded, the worst time to arrive with dreams. But Simone doesn't have dreams. She has a plan. Find work, learn proper Parisian French, observe women of quality, become one of them through perfect mimicry. She finds secretarial work. The pay barely covers rent in a sixth-floor walk-up with no heat. She eats once a day, but she never looks hungry, never looks poor. The lawyers' wives visit the office. Simone watches with scientific focus, notes how they remove gloves, place handbags, maintain hierarchy through the smallest gestures. She notices everything. The way wealth announces itself through posture before clothing. How rich women never rush, as if time itself bends to accommodate them. How they use silence as punctuation, letting pauses do the work of emphasis. How their voices remain level, never rising, because people who matter don't need volume to command attention. At night, she practices, takes off invisible gloves, sets down invisible handbags. Thanks invisible people with invisible distance, building a vocabulary of class that will become so fluent no one will question its authenticity. She saves every franc she can, but not for food or comfort. She spends her money on one thing, a single pair of perfect gloves. Real leather, butter soft, the kind that wealthy women wear without thinking. She wears them everywhere, even when inappropriate, because they transform her. With those gloves on, she's no longer a secretary from Normandy. She's someone who belongs. The other secretaries notice. "Why do you always wear those?" one asks. "Because," Simone says simply, "they remind me who I'm becoming." After the war, Paris remembers itself. Fashion becomes resistance, a way of saying, "You tried to destroy us, but we can still be beautiful." Christian Dior will announce the new look. Jacques Fat is dressing women who refuse to let poverty show. Simone, 23, understands something is shifting. She wants to be part of that remembering. The party happens by accident, a gathering at an atelier on Rue du Faubourg Saint-Honoré. Simone isn't invited, but she arrives in her one good dress, hair perfect, and walks in like she belongs. Nobody questions her presence. She stands by a window, watching, always watching, and then Jacques Fat sees her. He stops mid-sentence, stares, crosses the room like a man possessed. "Who are you?" Simone meets his gaze. "Nobody yet." Jacques Fat laughs, not for long. 3 days later at his atelier, he circles her like a sculptor examining marble. Simone is wrong. Too plain, too real. You need something Italian, something with music. He thinks, then smiles. Bettina Graziani. It sounds like aristocracy, like someone who has never worried about money. Bettina now understands what he's offering. Not just a job, but complete reinvention. Permission to kill Simone Bodin and become someone else. Someone clean, new, born perfect. I'll take it. Good, because Simone could never do what I need, but Bettina can do anything. Within weeks, Bettina is walking for Jacques Fat. Within months, photographed for magazines. Within a year, everyone knows Bettina Graziani. Nobody remembers Simone Bodin. The transformation is complete and irreversible, but there's a cost to becoming someone else. Every time someone calls her Bettina, Simone fades. Every time she performs grace instead of feeling it, the gap between surface and interior grows. She starts having episodes, moments where she doesn't recognize her reflection, where she hears herself laugh and thinks, "Who is that?" The first time it happens, she's at a fitting, standing on a pedestal while hands pin fabric to her body. She looks down and doesn't recognize her own feet. They seem foreign, borrowed, as if she's watching someone else stand there while she observes from a distance. "Are you all right?" the seamstress asks. Bettina, because it is Bettina now, Simone is already receding, smiles perfectly. "Of course. Just tired." But she's not tired. She's disappearing. And the more successful Bettina becomes, the faster Simone vanishes. She starts keeping a small notebook. At night, alone in her apartment, she writes, "My name is Simone Micheline Bodin. I was born in Normandy. My mother did laundry. My father worked the docks." Simple facts. Proof she existed before Bettina. She writes these facts every night like a prayer, like an incantation, trying to keep Simone alive through repetition. But the notebook entries grow shorter, more perfunctory, until one night she picks up the pen and can't remember what to write. Can't remember what Simone felt like from the inside. She closes the notebook, never opens it again, but she can't stop. The machine is in motion. By 1950, Bettina works for everyone. Fath, Dior, Balmain, Balenciaga. She's the girl they call for perfection. Christian Dior watches her walk and says, "She is the silence of Paris, graceful, precise, eternal." It's meant as a compliment. But inside, Simone is screaming. Because silence isn't elegance, it's erasure. Eternal means you're not allowed to change, to age, to be anything except fixed perfection. Backstage, other models gossip and smoke. Bettina sits apart. They think she's aloof. They don't realize she's terrified, that if they get close, they'll discover there's nothing inside the shell. That Bettina Graziani is performance with no performer, surface with no depth. She's learning what it means to be an idea. Ideas don't have bad days, don't get tired or scared. Ideas are perfect, consistent, unchanging. And Bettina is an idea now, which means Simone must stay buried forever. Feels like dying. Slow, elegant, perfectly performed dying. Then late 1951, Hubert de Givenchy calls. He's 24, opening his own house. He wants Bettina as his muse. They meet at a cafe in Saint-Germain-des-Prés. Givenchy is nervous, intense. "I want to create clothes that don't compete with the woman wearing them. Clothes that let the wearer be the statement." Bettina listens, intrigued. This sounds like freedom. Clothes that don't require disappearance. She agrees to be his opening model. She doesn't realize this will complete her transformation from person to symbol. For months they work on the collection. Givenchy talks constantly about elimination, taking away everything unnecessary. With each reduction, Bettina feels herself reduced too. Less complicated, less dimensional, less human, more idea. One evening he stops her. "I've been working on something special, a blouse, white silk, boat neck, no embellishment, just perfect draping. I want you to wear it for the opening show." He shows the sketch. It's the most beautiful thing she's seen, simple to severity, pure to emptiness, a garment requiring absolute perfection because there's nowhere to hide. "It's perfect," she says. "I want to call it the Bettina Blouse." Something goes cold inside her. "After me?" "After you, because no one else could embody what it represents. She should be honored." Instead, she feels like she's watching her execution being planned. She understands. She will no longer be a person who wears clothes. She will be clothes that happen to have a person inside. The blouse will become more real than she is. "Thank you," she says, because what else can she say? February 2nd, 1952, the day that will define the rest of her life. Givenchy's atelier is packed. Dior, Balenciaga, Cocteau. Photographers 3 deep. The pressure is enormous. Backstage, Bettina stands in the white blouse. It fits perfectly, made on her body for her body. She looks in the mirror and sees exactly what Givenchy wanted, purity personified. She also sees herself disappearing. The blouse is so perfect that Bettina the person becomes irrelevant. Givenchy comes to her. "Are you ready?" "I was born ready," she says, perfect, confident, empty. The music starts. Quiet, measured. The runway glows white. Bettina takes a breath and walks. It's not a walk, it's an offering. She moves in white silk under white lights, pure visual poetry. Head tilted in prayer, arms natural, pace meditative, precise. She is not trying to sell anything. She is simply existing in this blouse, becoming a vessel for Givenchy's vision. The front row sits frozen. Dior's mouth opens. Balenciaga leans forward. Cocteau has tears in his eyes. Bettina reaches the end, pauses, turns with grace that looks choreographed by angels, walks back, disappears backstage. For 30 full seconds, absolute silence. Cathedral silence. The silence that follows something sacred. Then eruption, standing ovation, shouting, photographers pushing forward. Backstage, Bettina sits in front of a mirror. Face composed, posture immaculate, but eyes somewhere else. She has just performed her masterpiece, just become a legend, just become an idea, and ideas once perfected can never become human again. Givenchy finds her crying, laughing, overwhelmed. It was perfect, you were perfect. I heard silence, Bettina says. Sacred silence. The kind that means something transcendent just happened. I'm calling it the Bettina Blouse, and there it is. A garment becomes more famous than the woman wearing it. Bettina Graziani stops being a person and becomes a product. They named a blouse after me, she will write years later, and I disappeared inside it. The reviews are ecstatic. The birth of modern elegance. Bettina Graziani, not just a model, but an embodiment. Embodiment. The word haunts her. A body that embodies an idea. Not a person with thoughts and needs and fears. Just a perfect surface for projecting fantasies of purity. Within weeks, the Bettina blouse is the most sought-after garment in Paris. Women across Europe want one. The blouse is in every magazine. Bettina's photograph, her in white silk, head bowed, perfect grace, becomes iconic, and Bettina watches with horror. She will never escape this image, will never be anything except the woman in the Bettina blouse. The garment has become more real than she is, more permanent, more loved. She continues working. More shows, more photographs, more interviews with perfect, empty answers. She's the face of haute couture now, but inside she's fragmenting. The distance between Bettina and Simone grows vast. She has moments where she doesn't recognize her hands, where she hears her voice and thinks, that's not me. Where is me? Nobody notices. Bettina Graziani is perfect, and perfect people don't have breakdowns. She starts having panic attacks in private. Silent, elegant panic attacks where breath goes shallow but face remains composed. Because even in crisis, Bettina must be graceful. She's dying in every way that matters. Then, early 1953, she attends a party at the Ritz, another fashion event, another evening of performing. And she meets Ali Khan. He's at the bar. Someone introduces them. This is Bettina Graziani. Ali Khan looks at her with curiosity rather than admiration. I know who you are. I've seen your photographs. But you're more interesting in person. Why? Because in photographs you look perfect. In person you look haunted. It's so unexpected that Bettina's mask slips. She stares at this prince, diplomat, playboy, someone from outside the fashion bubble, and realizes he has seen what nobody else looked for. He has seen that she's drowning. I don't know what you mean, she says. Yes, you do. You have the saddest eyes I've ever seen. Something cracks inside her, a small fissure in the armor. Would you like to leave this party? Ali asks. I can't. You can be looked at anywhere. Come with me, let's go somewhere you can be a person instead of a photograph. It's the most dangerous invitation of her life. If she says yes, she admits Bettina isn't enough, that the perfected persona is a prison, that she wants to be Simone again. Yes, she says. They go to a small cafe in Montmartre. For the first time since becoming Bettina, she talks honestly. Why fashion? Ali asks. It was supposed to save me. From what? From being nobody. From being Simone Bodin, daughter of a dock worker. And did it save you? Bettina laughs. Not practiced, but bitter. It saved me from being nobody. Now I'm somebody. Now I'm Bettina Graziani, which is another way of saying I'm no longer real. Ali looks at her intensely. What's your real name? The question lands like a blow. Nobody has asked in 5 years. Nobody has cared that Bettina was once someone else. Oh, Simone, she whispers. Simone Micheline Bodin. Hello, Simone. Hearing her real name spoken gently breaks something in her. Silent, elegant tears, but real tears. Simone's tears. Ailey hands her his handkerchief. Doesn't try to fix her, just witnesses. I don't know who Simone is anymore, she says. Then let's find out. What begins is not romance. Not yet. It's archaeology. Ali becomes the first person interested in excavating Simone from beneath Bettina. He asks about her real childhood, what she wanted before fashion, what she dreams about. Slowly she remembers. She likes Baudelaire, Edith Piaf, walking through Saint-Germain-des-Prés at dusk when Paris looks like a memory. Who is this person? She asks, half laughing. You're not reading about anyone, you're remembering yourself. Over weeks, then months, Ali Khan does something nobody in fashion ever did. He asks follow-up questions. When Bettina mentions Baudelaire, he asks which poems. When she talks about her mother's laundry, he asks what the water smelled like, what her mother's hands looked like after years of work. He's interested in the texture of her past, not just its headline. And in answering his questions, Bettina, Simone, begins to remember what it felt like to have an interior life. To have preferences that aren't calculated for effect. To want things simply because she wants them, not because wanting them advances her career. One evening, Ali takes her to hear Edith Piaf perform in a small club in Pigalle. They sit in the back, in shadows, where nobody recognizes Bettina. The singer's voice cracks and soars, raw and unpolished and devastatingly honest. Halfway through La Vie en Rose, Simone starts crying. Not elegant tears, not photogenic tears. Ugly, convulsive crying that makes her makeup run and her nose turn red. Ali doesn't try to stop her. He just holds her hand in the darkness while Piaf sings about seeing life through rose-colored glasses when you're in love. When the song ends, Simone whispers, I forgot it could feel like this. Like what? Like being real. The fashion world doesn't understand. They see Bettina missing parties, declining bookings, spending time with this prince. Rumors circulate she's becoming difficult, losing focus. They're right. She is letting love interfere. Because Ailey loves Simone, not Bettina. He doesn't care about the blouse or photographs. He cares about the woman beneath performance. And for the first time since 16, someone gives her permission to be that woman. It's terrifying. Being Simone means admitting Bettina was a lie. That success was built on self-erasure. Ailey proposes in spring 1955. Over coffee in that Montmartre cafe. I know what I'm asking you to give up, he says, but I'm not asking Bettina to marry me. I'm asking Simone. Bettina, Simone, sits with this. Marriage means leaving fashion, leaving Paris, leaving the identity she built, giving up being a legend to become a person again. Yes, she says. Simone says yes. The announcement shocks the fashion world. The press treats it like fairy tale. Model becomes princess. But it's not fairy tale. It's escape. A desperate attempt to save whatever remains of Simone before Bettina consumes her completely. Givenchy takes it like betrayal. You're leaving? I have to. But everything we've built? You've built it, Hubert. I was just the mannequin. You were never just... I was. And I need to be something else before I forget how. He doesn't understand. To him, Bettina is triumph. He can't see the triumph required her to stop being human. Her final show is for Dior, spring 1956. White evening gown. She walks one last time with that measured grace. But this time she's present, not dissociating, just walking, just being, saying goodbye. At the end of the runway, she pauses, looks at the audience, all these people who loved Bettina without knowing Simone, and she smiles. Something real, something sad, something that says, I gave you everything. Now I need to save what's left. Then she turns and walks backstage, and Bettina Graziani exits fashion forever. The marriage is brief, 2 years. 2 years of Simone slowly learning to be human again, learning to exist without performing. They live at Chateau de l'Horizon near Cannes. Ali is patient, understands recovery from perfection takes time. You don't have to be anything, he tells her. You can just exist. But existing is harder than performing. She tries, wakes without agenda, reads for pleasure, walks without caring how she looks. Does ordinary things Bettina was never allowed. It feels like learning a new language, or remembering an old one. The chateau has a garden that overlooks the Mediterranean. Simone spends hours there, dirt under her fingernails, planting lavender and rosemary. Things that grow without needing to be beautiful. Things that exist for their scent, their utility, their simple fairness. Ali finds her one afternoon kneeling in the soil, hair tied back with a kitchen towel, wearing old clothes stained with earth. The fashion world would die if they saw you like this, he says, smiling. She looks up at him, genuinely happy for maybe the first time in a decade. Good. Let them think Bettina died. Maybe Simone can finally live, but it's not that simple. Some transformations are irreversible, some training too deep to unlearn. She still catches herself checking her posture, still feels the instinct to perform grace even when no one is watching. Bettina is in her bones now, in her muscle memory and the way she moves through space without thinking. One morning she wakes up and realizes she walked to the kitchen with perfect runway posture, even though she was just getting coffee in her nightgown. She sits at the table and cries. Because even here, even married to a man who loves Simone, she can't fully escape Bettina. Ali sits with her. It's okay, you don't have to choose, you can be both. But she knows that's not true. Bettina and Simone can't coexist. One must die for the other to live, and she's not sure which one she wants to save. They're not always happy. Simone carries too much damage, but they're real. Their fights are real, their laughter is real, and real is what she's been starving for. Then May 12th, 1960. Ali Khan is driving near Paris. The car crashes. He dies instantly. Simone receives the news by telephone. She's arranging flowers. The words don't make sense. They're saying her husband is dead, but that's impossible because she just spoke to him because she was just learning to be loved. But it is how life works, and Ali Khan is gone. The funeral is massive. Simone attends in black, veiled, silent. Photographers are there. Of course they are. Elegant even in tragedy, captions say. Behind the veil, Simone disintegrates. Behind the veil, she realizes the only person who saw her as real is dead. Without Ali's gaze, she doesn't know if Simone can survive. After the funeral, she makes a decision. She will not return to fashion, will not let them pull her back. Instead, she disappears. Not dramatically, not publicly. She simply stops being visible. Returns to Paris, takes a small apartment in the 6th arrondissement, refuses all interviews, all invitations. I had been worshipped too long, she tells a friend. I needed to learn how to breathe again. But breathing as a private person is harder than imagined. She does ordinary things, shops, makes coffee, reads, walks, and feels like an imposter doing everyone. The first weeks are the hardest. She goes to the market and nobody recognizes her. It should be liberating. Instead, it feels like erasure. Like if nobody sees Bettina, then neither Bettina nor Simone exists. Like she's a ghost haunting her own life. She stands in front of mirrors for hours, the way she did as a child in Normandy. But now she's not studying how to be elegant. She's trying to figure out who she is when nobody's looking. The mirror doesn't answer. She tries different things. Lets her hair go unstyled. Wears comfortable clothes. Stops holding her posture perfectly. But none of it feels natural. She's been Bettina for so long that she doesn't know how to just be. One day she's walking through the Luxembourg Gardens. An old man sits on a bench feeding pigeons. He looks up at her, squints, then says, "You're that model, the one from the 50s. Simone's heart pounds. After months of invisibility, of trying to be ordinary, someone has recognized her. "No," she says quietly, "you're mistaken." The old man shrugs. "Maybe. You look like her, but she was more, I don't know, more. That word haunts her for days, because she knows what he means. Bettina was more elegant, more perfect, more there. Simone is less everything, a faded copy of an ideal that no longer exists. She wonders if this is what happens to symbols when they try to become human again. They shrink, they diminish, they become forgettable. Fashion moves on. New models emerge. The 50s elegance Bettina embodied becomes passé. She should be relieved. Instead, she feels erased. Years pass. 1960 becomes 1970, becomes 1980. Simone ages in private, a radical act in an industry that treats aging as failure. Her face develops lines, her hair goes white. She keeps a blue velvet box. Inside, Ali's letters, Givenchy's notes, photographs. She doesn't open it often. When she does, she reads slowly, trying to remember what it felt like to be that person. On her desk, a folded note. "Je ne regrette rien. I only regret that I was never real." Sometimes fashion students find her address. They knock, wanting interviews, wisdom, secrets. Simone is polite but firm. "I have nothing to teach you," she tells them. "I was successful at one thing, disappearing into an idea, and I do not recommend it." They leave confused, disappointed. In 1989, she tries writing a memoir. The Woman in White. She fills pages honestly. The poverty, transformation, perfection, cost. Describes the dissociation, emptiness, what it means to be loved for something that isn't real. Then she reads it and realizes she can't publish it. Not because it's not true, it's devastatingly true, but because it would destroy the myth. And maybe the myth is more valuable than the truth. She puts the manuscript in a drawer. After her death, someone will look. They won't find it. The drawer will be empty. The true story will remain untold. Some silences are too deep to break. By her 80s, Simone has made peace. Not happiness. She's too damaged for that. But acceptance. She was magnificent. She was miserable. Both were true. The white blouse made her immortal and erased her simultaneously. She walks the same Paris streets. The city has changed, but certain things remain. The evening light, the coffee smell, footsteps echoing on stone. Sometimes she passes vintage shops and sees her own image. Photographs from the 50s selling nostalgia. She doesn't stop. Just keeps walking, this old woman who once was an idea. She dies March 2nd, 2015, alone in her apartment. 89 years old. The death is quiet, private. The fashion world erupts in mourning. Obituaries everywhere, retrospectives. The Bettina Blouse circulated like a memorial. Tributes about the woman who defined Parisian elegance. But none of them knew her. They knew Bettina, never met Simone. On her desk, they find the note. "Je ne regrette rien. I only regret that I was never real." The family decides not to share it. Doesn't fit the narrative. Better to let the elegant icon remain elegant. The myth stays intact. In the Musée Galliera, they curate an exhibition. Bettina, the face of elegance. The centerpiece is the Bettina Blouse behind glass. Pure white silk, boat neck, perfect draping. Untouched by time because never touched by reality. Beside it, a photograph. Bettina in 1952 walking Givenchy's first show. Head bowed, face serene, perfect grace. No caption, no explanation. Just image and garment, inseparable, eternal. Visitors stop, stare, whisper grace and purity through perfection. They talk about how elegance was different then, how beauty is a lost art. None ask what it cost. None wonder what happened to the woman after she became the idea. None see the violence in that white silk, the erasure in that perfect posture. The photograph doesn't invite questions, only admiration, which is exactly what Bettina Graziani was trained to do. Be admired, not understood. The museum closes, lights dim. The Bettina blouse remains behind glass, still white, still perfect, still waiting for someone to see it as evidence rather than art. And somewhere in the photograph beside it, if you look closely enough, Simone Bodin is still there, still watching, still trying to remember who she was before she became the idea of elegance, still trying to remember if she was ever real at all. The white blouse hangs in darkness, museum after museum, exhibition after exhibition, always the same blouse, always the same photograph, always Bettina Graziani, 1952. Never. Simone Bodin disappeared. Never. The woman who became an idea and couldn't find her way back. Never the truth. Only the myth. Only the surface. Only the white silk and perfect face and sacred silence. Because some truths are too uncomfortable. Better to remember Bettina as she appeared. Flawless, timeless, ideal. Better to forget that ideals require human sacrifice. In Paris, late at night, when museums are closed and streets empty, you can almost hear it. Footsteps. Measured. Precise. Meditative. The walk of someone who learned to move like silence, learning to breathe. Bettina Graziani, still walking. Still performing, still trapped in that white blouse, in that perfect moment, in that suffocating silence that followed her into myth. Or maybe just the wind, just the city breathing, just the sound all old cities make when they remember their ghosts. But if you listen closely, if you're willing to hear what archives won't say, you might hear something else. A whisper, a name. Not Bettina, Simone. Still there, still watching. Still trying to be seen beneath the surface everyone loves and nobody understands. The white blouse doesn't answer. It hangs in darkness, perfect and empty. A shell that once held a person, a garment that became more real than the woman who wore it. And the photograph, Bettina in 1952, head bowed, grace incarnate, stares out at nothing and everything, forever frozen in the moment she became immortal. The moment Simone died, the museum guard walks past. Doesn't see the blouse, doesn't see the photograph, has seen them 1,000 times. They're just artifacts now, just history. He doesn't know, can't know that artifacts can bleed, that history has ghosts, that elegance sometimes costs everything. He turns off the last light. The gallery goes dark, and in darkness the Bettina blouse hangs. Still white, still perfect, still waiting for someone to ask the question nobody wants answered. What happened to the woman who wore it? But museums don't answer questions. They only preserve surfaces. And the surface of Bettina Graziani was so perfect that the truth beneath it was allowed to vanish without trace. Somewhere in a drawer in a family home, the manuscript of The Woman in White slowly yellows. Pages hold secrets never to be published, confessions never to be read. The truth about what it cost to become perfect. But the drawer stays closed. Secrets stay secret. And Bettina Graziani remains what she always was. An idea, a symbol, a ghost dressed in white silk. Not a woman, the idea of one. And in museums around the world, when they display that white blouse, they place her photograph beside it. The Bettina blouse, 1952. They never add what Simone wrote in the manuscript that disappeared. They named it after me, and I've been wearing it ever since. Because that's the truth archives won't preserve. The confession fashion doesn't want to hear. The blouse became the woman. The woman became the blouse. And somewhere in that transformation, Simone Bodin ceased to exist. All that remains is white silk, the perfect photograph, the sacred silence. The myth. Was Bettina Graziani performing elegance, or was elegance performing her? And if you succeed at becoming an ideal, is there any way back to being real?